With the presence of social media, it seems like everybody is having an identity crisis. From following TikTok trends that just make us look stupid to feeling pressured to create the perfect online persona, social media is more than relevant when it comes to shaping personal identity. In this video, we'll discuss social media's impact on how we see ourselves. We'll reflect on the comparisons we make and the fact that our authentic selves are often overshadowed. And we'll examine how to find balance when it comes to having an online image. Social media makes it hard to know who we really are. When everyone's always showing off their best side online, we feel pressure to look perfect. This can make us compare ourselves to others and feel like we're not good enough, possibly even developing imposter syndrome. On social media, people usually only show the best parts of their lives, like a highlight reel. This can make us feel like we have to be perfect and only show up when we're 100%. In an Australian study from 2022, which surveyed females aged between 14 and 24 years old, one participant said this about seeing her peers on social media. "I just compare myself to them because I know it's kind of reality, to know that someone my age can look like that." She also includes that she then asks herself, "Why don't I look like that?" and says that a lot of girls her age most likely feel like that. The thing about this is that we see our peers in their best clothes, with their hair and makeup done, and most likely with a bit of Photoshop or filtering, and we forget that this one image is the best out of the 40 that she actually took. I constantly feel pressure to look and be like others online, especially when it comes to people who are more successful than me, because this isn't just about beauty standards, this is about standards for success. There is this one girl on social media who I am extremely jealous of. I went to the same high school as her. I was in the same grade as her. I talked to her. I knew her. I sat at the same table with her at prom. And she has this great life that I am so jealous of. And I also remember that she probably didn't have to experience a lot of the trauma that I had to experience, and that she probably also got some privileges that I might not have gotten. I consistently have to remind myself that I'm on time for my own life. My life is for me, and her life is for her. When we see others doing well on social media, we might develop imposter syndrome or feel like we're not good enough. When I was running my small business, I'd see other small businesses online, and I'd be jealous of their success, but I'd also forget that it probably took them years to get to that point, and that this success had been accumulated over time. Not to mention, most of the time, these people are just showing us the best parts. I know I was just showing off the best parts. Why would I show off anything that was bad? We forget, though, that the bad things are what the audience can relate to more, the imperfections. In an article from 2023, the authors write that approximately 90% of women stated that they compare themselves with other people on social media. This obviously creates a major problem. Most women on social media don't see themselves as good enough, and most women out there are on social media. So does that mean that most women don't see themselves as good enough? Sometimes seeing other people's perfect lives online can make us feel like we're not being real about who we really are. In other words, because we're always comparing and trying to be somebody else, we're not paying attention to who we actually want to be. For example, you may want to like a certain celebrity or a band, but other people don't like them, so you have to hate them too. One of the bands that I think about is Nickelback, who is kind of a big joke if you hate Nickelback, right? Like, that's the thing. You hate Nickelback and if you like Nickelback, you're a weirdo. But like, Rockstar by Nickelback is a jam, and there's no denying it. When Justin Bieber first started coming out with music, I actually wanted to like him, but all my friends hated him, so I felt like I had to hate him too. I actually continued to dislike him and actively refused to listen to his music until like 2 years into his career. And by that point, no one cared about it anymore. No one cared if you hated or liked Justin Bieber. These are just real life examples, but I think about it this way. Anytime we compare ourselves, it's affecting how we act and effectively how we present ourselves on social media. I can admit that seeing other people thrive and succeed on social media while I haven't has caused me to develop imposter syndrome. We naturally compare ourselves to people around us, and with social media, you're constantly updated on what so-and-so is doing. This causes me major FOMO, and it's actually a joke in my house, and I have a cup that says FOMO on it. In a study from 2023, Marder states, just browsing the newsfeed or even posting an achievement on LinkedIn can trigger a reflection on your own professional identity that can ignite imposter thoughts. In other words, you don't have to be on a website like Instagram or Facebook in order to feel these thoughts. You can be on a website like LinkedIn where you're focusing on work activities and you can still feel like you're not good enough. So if this is happening with LinkedIn, what is the impact when it comes to bigger social media websites like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok? Social media platforms like Instagram reward perfection. What's going to get more likes? The picture of you all dolled up, standing in front of a city skyline, or the selfie of you on the couch with no makeup on after a long day? Even though the couch selfie still deserves to be seen, the other photo is more likely to get the attention that you're looking for. We reward being polished and perfect, and this makes us feel like we have to act a certain way, even if that persona isn't who we really are. When I was doing tarot reading and life coaching, I felt like I constantly had to have this spiritual guru persona, and I was trying to coach others about being authentic when I couldn't even be authentic myself. We all know that a curated and nice-looking feed filled with beautiful pictures is going to get more attention than a regular feed filled with regular pictures of regular moments. Unfortunately, regular isn't attractive because it's not exceptional. It's just average. In an article from 2018, the author states that while both Instagram and YouTube enable the everyday person to become someone who is idolized among the masses, one of the major differences between influencer fame and celebrity fame is that social media makes it possible for regular people to attract the mass audiences historically limited to broadcast media. Honestly, these influencers aren't even really relatable at all, but they've found some sort of audience to relate to, and that's just their personalities or really good marketing. With the presence of social media, we find ourselves inundated by images of what we should be doing and how we should be acting instead of actually just doing what we want to do. We're not seeing any messages that can actually help us learn something. Let's be honest, if all influencers focused on teaching about healthy self-esteem, then we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We might think that the more likes and followers we have, the better we are. But the truth is that these things have nothing to do with what kind of person you are. We try every day to gain more likes, followers, shares, etc., etc. And when we see that follower count and those numbers not consistently going up, it causes us to wonder what's wrong with us and why we can't do the social media thing like everybody else is doing. Everybody knows that you can't do live videos on TikTok until you reach a certain amount of followers. So if I'm not there yet, does that make me any less of a content creator? An article from 2016, pretty old but still relevant enough, says that their study found that individuals that felt like they had purpose didn't feel the need to gain likes and followers as much as individuals who didn't feel like they had purpose. However, this is most likely because the person who feels like they have purpose is posting about their purpose and posting about the things that they're doing because it relates to their purpose. And they're getting likes without even really realizing it. This means that everybody else is stuck with their regular, boring lives because no one is jumping up to tell me how fantastic I look in my sweatpants. It's so easy to get caught up in how you look online that you forget who you really are. I've been there multiple times, especially when I did tarot reading. It was really hard for me to find a balance between being a tarot reader and being someone who reads tarot. This can sometimes result in a hyper reality, where the individual is unable to distinguish reality from a simulation of reality. And in this case, that simulation would be social media. How this works is that people see themselves in a hyper reality, and they employ storytelling techniques to make their stories more exciting and interesting, and this further pushes them into that hyper reality that they've created for themselves. In an article from 2021, the author states that we feel the need to constantly use stories to turn the nothing into something and turn the ordinary person into the hero. This has resulted in main character syndrome. But the problem with this can be that for a minority of people, main character syndrome could share traits with psychological problems like narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not saying you're a narcissist because you like to imagine yourself as the main character in your life. However, there is a time and a place. If we're constantly performing and living out our main character fantasy, we're not really paying attention to what's really going on in life, and we may lose sight of our own personal journey of self-reflection. It's important that we remember social media isn't everything. There's so much more than what we see online, but this can be hard to remember when our phones are in front of our faces as much as they are. Throughout the past few years, finding my identity in real life in correlation with my online identity has been one of the hardest tasks. One of the amazing things about this world is that you can claim any label. You don't have to have a degree to be a business owner and be a total boss babe. However, we also feel free to mix and match labels before truly getting comfortable with them. What I mean by this is that I am notorious for adopting a label and then not giving myself enough time to adjust and dropping it and picking up something new. I don't know exactly why I do this, but I think one of the reasons maybe is that I see everyone doing so much on social media and I want to do the same. I want to be just like everybody else. It's FOMO. So by setting boundaries with your social media consumption, your brain is less fogged up by all of the shit that we see online. Taking a break from social media can actually be a tool that you use to help regulate yourself. You can be everything that you want, but instead of focusing on adopting a label, why don't we focus on reclaiming the unique individuality that we once possessed as children? When social media makes us feel bad, which it will, we have to learn how to be nice to ourselves and make ourselves feel better. Like I mentioned before, it's important to set boundaries and take breaks. When I was focusing only on TikTok, I found it helpful to make my videos in the morning and then take the break off of TikTok for the rest of the day as to not overwhelm and burn myself out. I did that anyway, but the schedule did help a little bit. Not being on TikTok at all in the afternoons made it so that I was consuming less harmful material, anything that would attribute to FOMO or imposter syndrome. On their website, UNICEF recommends that you pay attention to why you're online and how it makes you feel. They point out that while you can't possibly report or block everything that makes you feel bad on the internet, you can put your screen down. UNICEF also recommends that we learn to use social media for good by sharing positive and supportive content instead of gossip, drama, and judgments. Nobody's perfect, and I love that about this world. Perfect was a word made up by the people in charge in an attempt to get us all to conform to the same standards and ideals. Think about it. If brown was perfect, wouldn't everybody start wearing brown? Like it's perfect, why wouldn't you? We need to learn how to be proud of the characteristics that make us into individuals. Let's talk about the kintsugi philosophy, which aligns with the wabi-sabi philosophy. Both of these schools of thought encourage us to see the beauty in life's imperfections, as well as treat the cracks in our psyche as part of our story. Kintsugi is actually an art of repair, where a broken object is put back together with gold lacquer. Just as we learn to celebrate the beauty of the golden cracks, we can also learn to acknowledge and celebrate the imperfections in our own lives. I am many things. I am a YouTuber, I'm a writer, I'm a tarot reader, I'm a life coach, but most of all, I'm Amanda, and I'm human, and I'm imperfect, and I'm me. Just as the Japanese art of kintsugi turns brokenness into beauty, we too can find strength and resilience in our imperfections. Navigating social media can blur our sense of self. With everyone showcasing their highlight reels, there's constant pressure to present perfection. This can lead to unhealthy comparisons and feelings of inadequacy, possibly even triggering imposter syndrome. In this video, we talked about the pitfalls of comparisons on social media and how it can foster unrealistic standards that lead to feelings of inadequacy, the illusion of authenticity online, and how social media platforms incentivize the projection of curated online personas rather than genuine self-expression, and how to find balance and embrace imperfection when it comes to using social media. Social media is more than influential when it comes to identity formation. Influencers are called influencers for a reason. Think about this. Their target audience is your little sister. She's young, she's impressionable, and it's up to us to show her what real authenticity looks like. I encourage you to analyze your relationship with social media. Are you being real, or are you just posting some online persona that no one has ever really met? Now that we've explored the labyrinth of social media's impact on identity, it's time to reclaim our narrative. Let's break free from the shackles of comparison, embrace the beauty of imperfection, and paint our digital canvases with authenticity. Are you ready to rewrite your story? If you enjoyed this video, let me know. I love to see likes because it means that you're liking what I'm doing. And if you liked this type of video, let me know in the comments because I'm experimenting and I'd love to know what you think. And if you think you'd like to see more of me, please feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you as a supporter. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.